Hi Year 3, welcome back, and this video is for chapter 15 of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and this is called The Chocolate Room. An important room this, cried Mr. Wonka, taking a bunch of keys from his pocket and slipping one into the keyhole of the door. This is the nerve centre of the whole factory, the heart of this whole business, and so beautiful. I insist upon my rooms being beautiful. I can't abide ugliness in factories. In we go then, but do be careful, my dear children. Don't lose your heads. Don't get overexcited. Keep very calm. Mr. Wonka opened the door. 5 children and 9 grown-ups pushed their ways in, and oh, what an amazing sight it was now met their eyes. They were looking down upon a lovely valley. There were green meadows on either side of the valley, and along the bottom of it flowed a great brown river. What's more, there was a tremendous waterfall halfway along the river, a steep cliff over which the water curled and rolled into a solid sheet, and then went crashing down into a boiling, churning whirlpool of froth and spray. Below the waterfall, and this was the most astonishing sight of all, a whole mass of enormous glass pipes were dangling down into the river from somewhere high up in the ceiling. They really were enormous, those pipes. There must have been a dozen of them at least, and they were sucking up the brownish muddy water from the river and carrying it away to goodness knows where. And because they were made of glass, you could see the liquid flowing and bubbling along inside them, and above the noise of the waterfall you could hear the never-ending sucking sound of the pipes as they did their work. Graceful trees and bushes were growing along the riverbanks, weeping willows and alders and tall clumps of rhododendrons with their pink and red and mauve blossoms. In the meadows there were thousands of buttercups. There! cried Mr. Wonka, dancing up and down and pointing his gold-topped cane at the great brown river. It's all chocolate! Every drop of that river is hot, melted chocolate, of the finest quality, the very finest. There is enough chocolate in there to fill every bathtub in the entire country, and all the swimming pools as well. Isn't that terrific? And just look at my pipes. They suck up the chocolate and carry it away to all the other rooms in the factory where it's needed. Thousands of gallons an hour, my dear children. Thousands and thousands of gallons. The children and their parents were too flabbergasted to speak. They were staggered. They were dumbfounded. They were bewildered and dazzled. They were completely bowled over by the hugeness of the whole thing. They simply stood and stared. The waterfall is most important, Mr. Wonka went on. It mixes the chocolate, it churns it up, it pounds it and beats it, makes it light and frothy. No other factory in the world mixes its chocolate by waterfall, but it's the only way to do it properly. The only way. And do you like my trees? He cried, pointing with his stick. And my lovely bushes? Don't you think they look pretty? I told you I hated ugliness. And of course they are all eatable. All made of something different and delicious. Do you like my meadows? Do you like my grass and buttercups? The grass you are standing on, my dear little ones, is made of a new kind of soft, minty sugar that I've just invented. I call it Swidge. Try a blade, please do. It's delectable. Automatically, everybody bent down and picked up one blade of grass. Everybody, that is, except Augustus Gloop, who took a big handful. And Violet Beauregarde, before tasting her blade of grass, took the piece of world record-breaking chewing gum out of her mouth and stuck it carefully behind her ear. Isn't it wonderful? Whispered Charlie. Hasn't it got a wonderful taste, Grandpa? I could eat a whole field, said Grandpa Joe, grinning with delight. I could go around on all fours like a cow and eat every blade of grass in the field. Try a buttercup, cried Mr. Wonka. They're even nicer. Suddenly the air was filled with screams of excitement. The screams came from Veruca Salt. She was pointing frantically to the other side of the river. Look over there, she screamed. What is it? He's moving, he's walking, it's a little person. It's like a little man, down there by the waterfall. Everybody stopped picking buttercups and stared across the river. She's right, Grandpa, cried Charlie. It is a little man. Can you see him? See him, Charlie, said Grandpa Joe excitedly. And now everybody started shouting at once. There's 2 of them. My gosh, so there is. There's more than 2. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What are they doing? Where do they come from? Who are they? Children and parents alike rushed down to the edge of the river to get a closer look. Aren't they fantastic? No higher than my knee. Look at their funny long hair. The tiny men were no larger than medium-sized dolls, and stopped what they were doing, and now they were staring back across the river at the visitors. One of them pointed towards the children, and then he whispered something to the other four, and all five of them burst into peals of laughter. "They can't be real people," said Charlie. "Of course they're real people," Mr. Wonka answered. "They're Oompa Loompas." Okay, I'm going to read the next chapter as well because we're carrying on in the chocolate room. This is called the Oompa Loompas. "Oompa Loompas," said everyone at once. "Oompa Loompas?" "Imported direct from Loomperland," said Mr. Wonka proudly. "There's no such place," said Mrs. Salt. "Excuse me, dear lady, but—" "Mr. Wonka!" cried Mr. Salt. "I am a teacher of geography." "Then you'll know all about it," said Mr. Wonka. "And oh, what a terrible country it is! Nothing but thick jungles infested by the most dangerous beasts in the world. Hornswogglers and snozzwangers and those terrible, wicked wangdoodles. A wangdoodle would eat 10 Oompa Loompas for breakfast and then came galloping back for a second helping. When I went out there, I found the little Oompa Loompas living in tree houses. They had to live in tree houses to escape from the wangdoodles and the hornswogglers and the snozzwangers. And they were living on green caterpillars, and the caterpillars tasted revolting, and the Oompa Loompas spent every moment of their days climbing through the treetops, looking for other things to mash up with the caterpillars to make them taste better. Red beetles, for instance, and eucalyptus leaves, and the bark of the bongbong tree. All of them beastly, but not quite so beastly as the caterpillars. Poor little Oompa Loompas. The one food they had longed for more than any other was the cocoa bean. But they couldn't get it. An Oompa Loompa was lucky if he found 3 or 4 cocoa beans a year. But oh, how they craved them. They used to dream about them all night and talk about them all day. You only had to mention the word cocoa to an Oompa Loompa and he would start dribbling at the mouth. The cocoa bean, Mr. Wonka continued, which grows on the cocoa tree, happens to be the thing from which all chocolate is made. You cannot make chocolate without it. The cocoa bean is chocolate. I myself use billions of them every week in this factory, and so, my dear children, as soon as I discovered the Oompa Loompas were crazy about this particular food, I climbed up to their treehouse village and poked my head in through the door of the treehouse belonging to the leader of the tribe. The poor little fellow, looking thin and starved, was sitting there trying to eat a bowlful of mashed up green caterpillars without being sick. "Look here," I said, speaking not in English, of course, but in Oompa Loompish. "Look here, if you and all your people will come back to my country and live in my factory, you can have all the beans you want. I've got mountains of them in my storehouses. You can have them for every meal. You can gorge yourself silly on them. I'll even pay your wages in cocoa beans if you wish." "You really mean it?" asked the Oompa Loompa leader, leaping up from his chair. "Of course I mean it. And you can have chocolate as well. Chocolate tastes even better than cocoa beans because it's got milk and sugar added." The little man gave a great whoop of joy and threw his bowls of mashed caterpillar right out of the treehouse window. "It's a deal!" he cried. "Come on, let's go!" So I shipped them all over here, every man, woman and child in the Oompa Loompa tribe. It was easy. I smuggled them over in large packing cases with holes in them, and they got here all safely. They are wonderful workers. They all speak English now. They love dancing and music. They are always making up songs. I expect you will hear a good deal of singing from time to time. I must warn you, though, they are rather mischievous. They like jokes. They still wear the same kind of clothes they wore in the jungle. They insist upon that. The men, as you can see for yourselves across the river, wear only deerskins. The women wear leaves, and the children wear nothing at all. The women use fresh leaves every day. "Daddy!" shouted Veruca Salt, the girl who got everything she wanted. "Daddy, I want an Oompa Loompa. I want you to get me an Oompa Loompa. I want an Oompa Loompa right away. I want to take it home with me. Go on, Daddy, get me an Oompa Loompa." Now, my pet," her father said to her, "we mustn't interrupt Mr. Wonka." "But I want an Oompa Loompa," screamed Veruca. "All right, Veruca, all right. But I can't get it for you right this second. Please be patient. I'll see you have one before the day is out." "Augustus!" shouted Mrs. Gloop. "Augustus, sweetheart, don't think you better do that." Augustus Gloop, as you might have guessed, had quietly sneaked down to the edge of the river, and he was now leaning on the riverbank, scooping hot melted chocolate into his mouth as fast as he could. Chapter 17. Augustus Gloop Goes Up the Pipe. When Mr. Wonka turned round and saw what Augustus Gloop was doing, he cried out, "Oh no, please, Augustus, please, I beg of you not to do that. My chocolate must be untouched by human hands." Augustus, called out Mrs. Gloop. Didn't you hear what the man said? Come away from that river at once. This stuff is fabulous, said Augustus, taking not the slightest bit of notice of his mother or Mr. Wonka. Gosh, I need a bucket to drink it properly. Augustus, cried Mr. Wonka, hopping up and down and waggling his stick in the air. You must come away. You are dirtying my chocolate. Augustus, cried Mrs. Gloop. Augustus, cried Mr. Gloop. But Augustus was deaf to everything except the call of his enormous stomach. He was now lying full length on the ground with his head far out over the river, lapping up the chocolate like a dog. Augustus, shouted Mrs. Gloop, you'll be giving that nasty cold of yours to about 1 million people all over the country. Be careful, Augustus, shouted Mr. Gloop. You're leaning too far out. Mr. Gloop was absolutely right, for suddenly there was a shriek and then a splash, and into the river went Augustus Gloop, and in 1 second he had disappeared under the brown surface. Save him! Screamed Mrs. Gloop, going white in the face and waving her umbrella about. He'll drown, he can't swim a yard, save him, save him! Good heavens, woman, said Mr. Gloop, I'm not diving in there, I've got my best suit on. Augustus Gloop's face came up to the surface again, painted brown with chocolate. Help! 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 He yelled. Fish me out! Don't just stand there, Mrs. Gloop screamed at Mr. Gloop. Do something! I am doing something, said Mr. Gloop, who was now taking off his jacket and getting ready to dive into the chocolate. But while he was doing this, the wretched boy was being sucked closer and closer towards the mouth of one of the great pipes that was dangling into the river. Then all at once, the powerful suction took hold of him completely, and he was pulled under the surface, then into the mouth of the pipe. The crowd on the riverbank waited breathlessly to see where he would come out. There he goes! Somebody shouted, pointing upwards. And sure enough, because the pipe was made of glass, Augustus Gloop could be seen clearly shooting up inside it, head first, like a torpedo. Help! Murder! Police! Screamed Mrs. Gloop. Augustus, come back at once! Where are you going? It's a wonder to me, said Mr. Gloop, how that pipe is big enough for him to get through it. It isn't big enough, said Charlie Bucket. Oh dear, look, he's slowing down. So he is, said Grandpa Joe. He's going to stick, said Charlie. I think he is, said Grandpa Joe. By golly, he has stuck, said Charlie. It's his stomach that's done it, said Mr. Gloop. He's blocked the whole pipe, said Grandpa Joe. Smash the pipe, yelled Mrs. Gloop, waving at her umbrella. Augustus, come out of there at once. The watchers below could see the chocolate swishing around the boy in the pipe, and they could see it building up behind him in a solid mass, pushing against the blockage. The pressure was terrific. Something had to give. Something did give, and that something was Augustus. Woof! Up he shot again like a bullet in the barrel of a gun. He's disappeared, yelled Mrs. Gloop. Where does that pipe go to? Quick, call the fire brigade. Keep calm, cried Mr. Wonka. Keep calm, my dear lady, keep calm. There is no danger. No danger whatsoever. Augustus has gone on a little journey, that's all. A most interesting little journey. But he'll come out of it just fine. You wait and see. How can he possibly come out just fine? Snapped Mrs. Gloop. He'll be made into marshmallows in 5 seconds. Impossible, cried Mr. Wonka. Unthinkable, inconceivable, absurd. He could never be made into marshmallows. And why not, may I ask? Shouted Mrs. Gloop. Because that pipe doesn't go anywhere near it. That pipe, the one Augustus went up, happens to lead directly to the room where I make the most delicious kind of strawberry-flavoured chocolate-coated fudge. Then he'll be made into strawberry-flavoured coated chocolate fudge, screamed Mrs. Gloop. My poor Augustus! They'll be selling it by the pound all over the country tomorrow morning. Quite right, said Mr. Gloop. I know I'm right, said Mrs. Gloop. It's beyond a joke, said Mr. Gloop. Mr. Wonka doesn't seem to think so, cried Mrs. Gloop. Just look at him, he's laughing his head off. How dare you laugh like that when my boy's just gone up the pipe? You monster, she shrieked, pointing her umbrella at Mr. Wonka, as though she were going to run him through. You think it's a joke, do you? You think that sucking my boy up into your fudge room like that is one great big colossal joke? He'll be perfectly safe, said Mr. Wonka, giggling slightly. He'll be chocolate fudge, shrieked Mrs. Gloop. Never, cried Mr. Wonka. Of course he will, she screamed. I wouldn't allow it, cried Mr. Wonka. And why not? She shrieked. Because the taste would be terrible. said Mr. Wonka. Just imagine it. Augustus flavoured chocolate-coated gloop. No one would buy it. They most certainly would, cried Mr. Gloop indignantly. I don't want to think about it, shrieked Mrs. Gloop. Nor do I, said Mr. Wonka. And I do promise you, madam, that your darling boy is perfectly safe. If he's perfectly safe, then where is he? Snapped Mrs. Gloop. Lead me to him this instant. Wonka turned round and clicked his fingers sharply. Click, 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 3 times. Immediately, an Oompa Loompa appeared as if from nowhere and stood beside him. The Oompa Loompa bowed and smiled, showing his beautiful white teeth. His skin was rosy white, his long hair was golden brown, and at the top of his head came just above the height of Mr. Wonka's knee. He wore the usual deerskin slung over his shoulder. Now listen to me, said Mr. Wonka, looking down at the tiny man. I want you to take Mr. and Mrs. Gloop up to the fudge room and help them to find their son, Augustus. He's just gone up the pipe. The Oompa Loompa took one look at Mrs. Gloop and exploded into peals of laughter. Oh, do be quiet, said Mr. Wonka. Control yourself, pull yourself together. Mrs. Gloop doesn't think it's funny at all. You can say that again, said Mrs. Gloop. Go straight to the fudge room, Mr. Wonka said to the Oompa Loompa. And when you get there, take a long stick and start poking around inside the chocolate mixing barrel. I'm almost certain you'll find him in there. But you better look sharp. You'll have to hurry. If you leave him in the chocolate mixing barrel too long, he's liable to get poured out into the fudge boiler. And that really would be quite a disaster, wouldn't it? My fudge would be quite uneatable. Mrs. Gloop let out a shriek of fury. I'm joking, said Mr. Wonka, giggling madly behind his beard. I didn't mean it. Forgive me. I'm so sorry. Goodbye, Mrs. Gloop. And Mr. Gloop. Goodbye. I'll see you later. As Mr. and Mrs. Gloop and their tiny escorts hurried away, the 5 Oompa Loompas on the far side of the river suddenly began hopping and dancing about and beating wildly upon a number of very small drums. Augustus Gloop, they chanted. Augustus Gloop, Augustus Gloop, Augustus Gloop. Grandpa, cried Charlie. Listen to them, Grandpa. What are they doing? Shh, whispered Grandpa Joe. I think they're going to sing us a song. I told you they loved singing, cried Mr. Wonka. Aren't they delightful? Aren't they charming? But you mustn't believe a word of they said. It's all nonsense, every bit of it. Are the Oompa Loompas really joking, Grandma? asked Charlie. Of course they're joking, answered Grandpa Joe. They must be joking. At least, I hope they're joking, don't you? Chapter 18. The Chocolate River. I'll come on to that one actually in the next video. So, from those 3 chapters that we've just read, there was lots of descriptive phrases about the chocolate room and about the Oompa Loompas and where they came from and what they looked like. So what I would like you to do is you can choose either the chocolate room, the original home of the Oompa Loompas, or the characters of the Oompa Loompas, and I want you to draw the setting or the character, and I want you to write a good descriptive piece about either the room, the place, or the character. So your description should be at least 2 pages long, okay? Using adverbs, using your expanded noun phrases, using prepositions, all the things that we've looked at in year 3. Okay, and I want you to see if you can write a really good description about one of those things. So you can listen to the video again, okay, and you can skip to the part of the section that you'd like to draw and describe. But I would like a really good description of either the setting or the character that you have chosen. Okay, and then watch the next video for chapter 18 where we look at the chocolate river. Bye!